Need that bright of a light on me. There we go.
Happy Thursday.
Happy, we're on.
Happy Thursday.
Happy
Happy
Thursday.
Thursday.
How's everyone this evening?
Good.
Well,
Good.
Yeah, right before we came on, we were talking about daylight savings and losing that hour. And I struggled with it all week, I admit it, but I'm excited tonight. So I made up for it during the week, losing all that sleep, but to be excited tonight to see all of your shining, beautiful faces. So thank you, ladies, for being here tonight. And we have an exciting topic. This is one that's dear to my heart because it's something I think about a lot. And the topic is the importance of legacy. So I will start by introducing myself. I'm Cara Dunstan, and I'm going to introduce one of our special guests, Kimberly Orange. Kimberly is another poly girl. And if you've been to any of our Facebook lives, you know we have quite a few poly girls here. Kimberly and I met in 9th grade, and we have been the bestest of friends ever since. She's one of my nearest and dearest. So I'm excited that she's here. She's going to share with us about her business a little later, but we're just excited she's here for the conversation. And we have another guest who I'm going to let her introduce herself, but she knows she's very near and dear to my heart. She holds a special place in my heart. She's basically my sister. Allison, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Allison. And yes, I'm a very, very good friend, sister friend of Cara. And this is my second time on Good Girlfriend. So thanks for having me join again. I can't wait to talk tonight and listen and hear and learn from everybody about their thoughts on this very important topic. So, hey.
Hi, Allie.
Hi. Am I next? Hi, I'm Bonita Bellamy. I'm once again so grateful to be here with my good girlfriends and to see another sunny day. I'm blessed.
Well, I'm CC, and it's not sunny here. It's raining in
Sorry.
Maryland. But I'm blessed to be here for another chat with my good girlfriends.
Hey, good evening, everyone. It's Marcy, and it is also a little wet in Philly. It's been a long week, but I am grateful and thankful to be here another evening with my good girlfriends.
happy Friday Eve, ladies. Missed y'all last week, but I was listening in quite a bit, and I'm so happy to be here tonight. Yeah, legacy means a lot to me too, so looking forward to this.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jeanette. Welcome back to our virtual living room. We're so happy to have all the good girlfriends that come every week, new good girlfriends that join us. I just would like to say I echo everyone's sentiments. I too am very excited and happy to be here another Thursday. It is a little rainy here in Philadelphia and cold actually too, but still a blessing to be amongst the living. I will say that, right? So you have to acknowledge that. So anyway, I just want to say before we get started, we do not profess to be experts. Please know that we are just good girlfriends kicking it, sharing information, loving on each other as good girlfriends often do. So I am so ready. Oh, look who it is. Hey, Lisa.
Another girlfriend.
Another girlfriend's in the house. So that's my disclaimer. Hey, Lisa, I'm going to let you do your thing and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Alicia Marner, and I'm so glad to be back with my good girlfriends. And it's just so nice to see everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
We're happy you're back with us, Lisa. Yes. So, as I mentioned, this is an important topic, something that I think about a whole lot. And I always think, what is the legacy that I wish to leave? And what will my legacy be? And, so I want to jump into that topic, but, for me, not having any children, I always think, well, I'm the end of this line. So what kind of legacy will I leave? Or how will my legacy live on? Or, what's that going to look like for me? One thing I always say is that I am open that I will leave a legacy of love. So I'm just trying to live my life like that. That when I hopefully join ancestors, I will have left a legacy of love. But I do think about it in other forms and fashions, not just spiritually, but financially. What kind of legacy will I leave? You know, and physically, if there's some type of legacy that I could leave. So I'm excited to hear from you ladies, you know, your thoughts around that as well. I think it's um, important discussion that as African Americans, we stand on the shoulders of some great legacy. So, you know, I think it's important that we think about that for our future generations as well.
So I will just say to you, I too think it's a very important topic and one that we don't discuss enough. There are so many different avenues when you think about leaving a legacy, what your legacy will be, honoring the legacy, you know, that folks left before you. So many different directions that this conversation can go in. And the topic is extremely important. As a community, I don't think we do it enough justice in terms of, you know, bringing this topic up amongst ourselves, with our families, our children. So it's a really big deal.
I agree, Jeanette. We were just having that conversation earlier today with a colleague. We were talking about legacy, and we were talking about it for many of us who are in Greek letter organizations. Especially for the women, I'll speak for the sororities being in one. We talk about legacy and how important the legacy is, a daughter, sister, you know, mother of a sorority sister. But we were also saying how we did not think that within our own community and day-to-day conversations, we really talk about legacy and what that means and the importance of legacy. And Cara, as you said, you know, what's the question? What are you leaving? You know, what do we think about in terms of legacy? I think about the shoulders that, you know, we stand on just in my own family, and my mother and my grandmother, and those legacies that they left for me. And I don't have a daughter, I have a son, but what's the legacy that I'm leaving him? What have I sowed into him, both from what's been sowed into me, as well as we move forward?
Ari, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Oh, I was just asking if Allison was getting ready to say something. Were you getting ready to say something, Allie?
I was just thinking, like, I'm in the same boat as you with no children, to leave my own, you know, my seed, some of my legacy, but I've committed to doing that for my nieces and my nephews. So I have 3 nieces and nephews. I have 3 great nieces and nephews. So I feel like, I kind of feel like I have a responsibility to do that, because I value what was instilled in me and what was left and passed on throughout my family. And so I don't want to see that go away in my lifetime, and I definitely don't want it to go away in the future. So, you know, for me, I'm planning and thinking about how to make sure I can establish something for them to carry on the legacy of my family. So I'm not quite 100% there yet, of course, but definitely it's in the works. I shared with Cara something, I guess, last week, or that what I had done for my nieces and nephews, and my nephew got so excited, and I'll share it later when we kind of get into the meat of things. But it was just funny, the story.
We're in the meat now. Go ahead, girl.
Yeah, bring the meat. Bring it on. Bring it on.
Well, no, it's just I bought me, my nephew, and my 2 nieces a share of a particular stock. And when I got it, it was, you know, it wasn't cheap, but it was not highly, not as valuable as it is today. And so I told my nephew, I told all 3 of them, but my nephew got the most excited and was like, "How much do you say I got?"
What's my share?
Right. So then he calls his mom. I got such and such amount of dollars.
Right.
But my thing is like, I want to tell him, yeah, you have that now, but you got to put that away. Let's make that grow. So the next step, because they're really young, I want to teach them how to, invest money so that it can grow and sustain them throughout their lifetime. So, and I'm not a financial planner or anything like that, but you learn things over time and learn about how to, be a good steward over your finances, and not necessarily just spend on yourself, because I could, I don't have no kids, I'm spending this money on myself, whatever. But I'm not going to do that because I do value my family and my family's history. So for me, it's baby steps, but definitely building that, that foundation to carry them on, and their kids and their kids' kids and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to piggyback to Cara, legacy and Marcy. Legacy, it has a lot to do with what the generations before you have taught you, and to pass those generations, the things that really benefit you, on to the next generation. I always think of a torch, you know what I mean, or a baton. Like my mother, her time is going to come up, so she has to pass that baton to me so that I can then learn what I need to learn to be a legacy to pass on to my children, and so on and so forth. But like Cara said, my main focus of legacy is to show love, really honest about that. And I think once you look for the legacy of love, the wealth is going to come, the wisdom is going to come, the fortitude of teaching kids how to stand, or anyone that you sow a seed to, teaching them how to stand when it's difficult, and being able to continuously push through those moments. And if I really can pinpoint one thing that I want to leave a legacy for, is this: mental health matters, man. Without mental health, we are falling short. We are really dying. And we really got to know that mental health is so important for all of us, because of, like we said, the generations before us. We never talked about it. We never had a label for it. We always suppressed it, and we stayed in survival mode. And I want us to get past the survival mode. Like you said, Allison, some wealth, not only in our finances, but wealth within ourselves, our well-being, on how we feel about ourselves, how we love ourselves, how we see how God sees us. And, and I think love also, the legacy of love to me is just the foundation of God. Really knowing who you are in God, really knowing that He loves you no matter what, and that if you can stand on that. Those are the things that are really important to me. And I think once you learn that basic, like I said, you could teach the wisdom, you could teach the wealth, you can teach the mental part, and it'll all fall in together. So yeah, definitely that.
I totally agree with that. All of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Legacy to me, like you all said, a legacy of love. I look at my grandmother, because I didn't know my great grandmother, and my mom, who didn't have much. So they don't have like wealth
Right.
to leave behind. But my grandmother taught me something way better than wealth. And like you said, it's love. She was rooted in the Catholic Church, and her faith was very strong to her. And it's something that she passed down for her daughter and to me. And then I pass down to my children and my nieces and my nephews and my cousins, not strange cousins, but who their parents may not go to church or believe in faith. I am the faith person. So I take on cousins and picking them up and taking them to church and making sure that they are rooted in God, so that they learn to love not only themselves, but to love other people. So I think that's important. But I also think it's important with wealth too. So like Allison said before, so I have a cousin who was a stockbroker and he loves me. He's not a cousin, he's really my uncle. I say cousin because he's only a couple of years older than me, but he's my uncle. But he loves the stock market and he thinks it's important for us to leave a legacy of wealth. So he's been having classes teaching us how to buy stock and how to do the stock market. So that way we can teach our children or the next generation so that they'll have something to pass down to their children. So I do think wealth is so important too.
And speaking of that wealth part, you made a point, Cecilia, that generations in the past may not have had so much, before, but I still think that they were able to do a lot with more with less.
Right.
And they understood the point of legacy. I found a lot of African Americans understood the principle of legacy and leaving something. So they may have left a house or they may have left land.
Yes.
Sometimes our generation may not have seen the value in that and just sold it, and we don't know what happened to the money from that. And so I think that we have to honor, or sometimes we should consider what's been left and understand the value, the real value of it.
Right.
I've seen so many families lose property or land because they didn't pay taxes.
Yep, taxes.
They didn't keep the taxes up. The land and the property was already paid for. They owed money on taxes and just didn't really even see the value, I guess, or I'm not sure but it makes me very sad when I see that happen, because not only is it a piece of equity and something, but it was something that the generations before left as part of their legacy.
Right.
If you are going to sell it, consider who you sell it to, number one. Let's think about who you're selling it to, and also don't use that money to build the legacy. Don't just get the money and pay off some debts or whatever, you know what I mean? Just figure out a way to use that money to continue building the legacy. So I you said that and I thought, wow, but generations before were able to do a lot more, and a lot of them left land and property that may not have been valued by our generation the way that I think.
That is hilarious, because I'm literally in the middle of researching this land that my grandfather kept paying the taxes on. And he was the last one, and he passed away last year. And actually it's been almost 2 years, but we found a tax bill and stuff, and one of us paid it. And now I got to go through the research of, okay, how many siblings were there, who's underneath all of them. And that's in North Carolina. So I might be taking a field trip since I'm the legal person. But
we have inherited land like that too, that my grandmother's grandparents had left. And it's so many, because my grandmother had like 13 brothers and sisters, and her first cousin had 26 children. So it's so many of us that they can't sell it without all of us saying, So we all have to, we just did it in clans. Just your clan owe this much taxes, your clan owe that much taxes. And every year we pay the taxes on that property. But somebody in the family still lives on it. And like you said, it's half the family wants to sell it, other half don't. But to me, like you said, it's something like, if you sell it, then sell it to look who you're selling it to. And then what are you going to do with the money once you sell it? So it's a whole lot to go with that. Now, everybody doesn't see the wealth in it and doesn't see the value in it. And everybody's never going to be on the same page because of that. And that's a shame that we don't all have those same values brought into it.
And I think one of the things I think about also when I think about legacy, just being an educator. So like, we talk about like our families, but also just being an educator and a teacher for over 25 years. I've seen children who don't have that foundation, who need mentors or who need people to more or less show them the way. And I think just to go back to what you said, Cara, so while I guess we leave our kids and our family members, our legacies, I think that, we all have people that have influenced us too, who have left us certain legacies or, special things to live by. I mean, like, I know for a fact, that you have had, a big, influence on my son's life. Like, I know that. And it's different than what I leave him as a mother. So, a lot of times I also think about the legacy that we leave to others that extend beyond our family members too. Because I think that's really, I think it's really important.
Yeah, I agree, Lisa. And I was just thinking about Marcy and them leaving a legacy of village, period. You know what I mean? Bringing back the barter system, bringing back, remember when you used to have your neighbor next door, your mother be like, oh, I forgot I don't have no flour. Go over to Miss so-and-so house and ask if she got some flour. And then she makes some biscuits and she be like, here, go take her some of these biscuits because I made enough for her too. So, the village life, I think, is a powerful legacy to leave, like you said, Lisa, because you're going to be touching so many other people besides your family, and you're teaching all of that wealth of building, like you said, Cara, just building. And and when you build together like that, that is wealth. Somebody can have some land. You could have a part of that land. Say, what if somebody had 50 acres? You could have 10, 5 on that land, and you build in your community and helping somebody else build a community. I always think about even Habitat for Humanity. Think about that. That's a legacy, like you said, within a village. You all coming together, you putting your hands to something to build it, to help somebody else and with their house and building their house. And it's really important for our community because, as you know, that's where we came from. We came from a community of neighbors coming together and raking leaves together, cutting grass together. If I was going to the store, I would go to the store for my neighbor, stuff like that. I can shovel some snow with you. And I think it's really important that we get back to that too, and to teach our kids about legacy, because it's so hard now. I always think about that word trust. It is so hard for us to trust each other now because of so much trauma and things that we've been through. We just don't know how to find our village and our communities and our trust. And it's tough. And in order to, like you said, Lisa, to be that, God gave me this word the other day. I'm no longer an educator. I'm an educarer. I not only educate, but I care enough to educate. So, that's a legacy. If I leave any title, that's the title I want to leave too. I'm an educator. Not only do I educate, but I care enough for you to educate you with the right tools and the wisdom to push it forth, to take forth this torch, as I always say. And I'm grateful, like you said, Cara, I'm grateful for the people that would be before me that left me a lot of legacy. I think it's an honor, and I think we need to continue to teach the next generations about that honor. Honor is also a key, honoring who became before you and the generations before that. So yeah, legacy is huge. It's huge. That's a huge topic. We could go on and on for that one. Truly.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking about Jeanette said early on in terms of, why do we not have those conversations? Why are we not having them? Why do we not have them as often? Where even hearing you, Cece talking about family and land. Did we explain it to family? Did we have family meetings? Did we, what happened that either the conversations never happened or the conversation stopped or they got lost? Because I think, Bernita, you were talking about the love, and Allison's doing a great job in terms of leaving a legacy in terms of finances. But, listening to everyone, it sounds like it's a holistic approach. It's kind of that mind, body, like you want to leave the love, but, you need to have conversations, having our young people understand creating generational wealth and passing that on and what that means, because you need resources to make it. If you don't have resources, then, how, not very tough. So how do we begin to help one another, begin to have those conversations, not just with us and our own families, but in the village and beyond our extended villages.
Yeah.
I think you're right, Marcy, about we need to have those conversations. Actually, last week, I was actually on my way to Cece's house, and my mother and I were talking, and my mother told me that her great niece, which is my cousin's daughter, has a class in college where she needed to interview someone over the age of 40. And of course, my mother's more than double that. But anyway, so she interviewed my mother, and my mother was sharing with me the questions that she asked. And one of them I found really interesting when I thought about this topic. My mother, and these were stories I had never even heard, and I didn't even know. And I'm her daughter, so she told the story of why we provide. My mother, puts a little money in their accounts while they're in college. And I didn't really understand. I thought she was just doing it as a great aunt. But she told me it was a legacy moment of when she was in college, and her father's first cousins didn't even really know her, but when she was student teaching at their school, they gave her an allowance every other week. And she said, so, and there was no strings attached. So she told my cousin, a great niece, that when I give you this money, there's no strings attached. I'm giving you this because of the legacy that was left with me. She's like, and all I ask is that when you're in a position, a generation, then you do the same. I thought that was an amazing story because I didn't know that story. But lessons that I think we should down and share amongst our family so that we understand why we do things and what we should do. So I think we just need to have more conversations like that amongst ourselves. Make the next generation understand this is what we do. This is how we continue to grow. This is how we support each other. Because, like I said, I just thought she was being nice, giving the children money. But there was a real reason behind all of that too. She was doing what had been done to her, trying to share that legacy for the next generation. So, yeah, I agree. We need to talk about it more.
I also
I
have
think
a
I'm
legacy of.
I'm gonna jump in real quick, Cece, before you
Okay, no problem.
start. I was just kind of listening to everyone, and I think when I sum up what legacy is, I think it's important to leave money, to leave land, to leave property. But if we don't leave the education piece, like I think what Lisa was kind of alluding to, then the rest of it may be a waste. It's good to leave money, but if you don't explain that you have to pay the taxes, I'm sorry, it's good to leave property, but if you don't explain that you have to pay the taxes on the property, that property will probably be lost within a year or two. And that's the piece that I think is missing in our community, is the education piece. So it's, leave the money, leave the property, but also explain the importance and the significance of it, how to take care of it. If you have a property and your roof is leaking, you need to fix that roof. And so I think that's the piece that we really need to focus on as a community with the legacy. And also the importance of, I don't have any biological children. I have a stepson, I have nephews, I have nieces, and it's important to leave something to somebody, whether it's your biological children, whether it's extended family, or if I volunteer with organizations where I mentor young women as well. It's important to leave legacy through knowledge, through education, through money, through everything, but not just within your family. We have to extend that to everyone. And I think you all have pretty much said that. I just wanted to kind of bring my 2 cents in.
Your 2 cents is good, boo. Your 2 cents is good.
I also have a legacy of education with Poly. So my sister started it. She was the first one to attend Poly. And since her, we had 10 people in my family attend Poly. 2 in my me and my sister, and then my niece and my nephew, and then now my granddaughter is going. I had 3 first cousins and a second cousin and 2 second cousins. So education is very important, and you know, in furthering your education, Polly has been the stepping stone for a lot of us. So we have a legacy of Polly of having 10, we call Horton clan, because from my father's side, they all was from my father's side. 10 Horton family members who attend Polly. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I want to piggyback onto what Marcia said. What she said is legacy, leaving legacy of communication. You know what I mean? To sitting down at that table and having them deep discussions about stuff that, and it goes right back to educating each other, you know, going back and sitting down and having them deep conversations about, hey, what do you think legacy is? What does that look like to you? And then that piggybacks into, what does honor look like to you? Piggyback into, what does respect, you know, all of those things that you know, it all ties up into communication. And a lot of things can come out of communication too. Listening skills. I want to leave a legacy that I listen, you know, as not even just as a parent, but as like you said, a mentor. That person, you're creating a safe space for somebody that can come to you and talk to you about, you know, I don't understand this, or I'm not sure about this. And, you know, being able to have that open dialogue with people and your community and your village. And, you know, I always, Marcy, y'all did a thing for me with that village. I can't let it go. It's so beautiful because you were there for each other too. You know what I mean? That, you know, even if I don't have the resource, I know my village got it. I know who I can go to. I know who I can lean on. I know who will stand with me. You know, all of that is powerful to me. And that's what I want to leave. Look, let's build together. Let's go back to building together. I can't do it by myself. And I need people to hang with me. That, you know, I need to know that everybody can go to freedom, for real. Everybody, come on, let's go. What you got that I ain't got, that I can put together with your stuff? What you know, and that's that village thing. I'm telling you that y'all leaving a legacy to me for that. Yeah. I'm telling you.
I can't say enough, but I think in your point, Benita, in terms of that with the village, you build, and it helps to extend outside the village. And then you help to create the generation, you help to educate, you help to talk about real estate, you help to leave land, you help to get some stock, you help to build on that. And I think when you start doing that, it does have that ripple effect where you prayerfully, you make it and create that ripple effect. Mm-hmm. So it happens within us. But it also extends beyond the village. And then the village children begin to extend themselves beyond the village. And for us, it just really, God just laid it out for us and happened very organically. And so we've been very blessed by that, and our children in turn have as well. Somebody say something. I could talk about the village all night long.
Well, I'll say something. I think with the village, it's important. I think we all need to have the village, but I know people that don't have a village. And so that's why I always say that, you know, we have to extend ourselves to others. When we see someone who is not a part of a village, then we bring them in and mentor them, educate them as much as we can. And one of the things, I can't remember who said it, but basically what I see, and again, I've had children in my life, all my life, but I've never given birth to a child. But one of the things that I see, a lot of parents push education, you know, go through high school, go through college, get out, get a job, get married, get a home, but then we don't teach the children what to do beyond that. And I think that's a part of legacy as well. And I'll let some of the parents talk more about that. But that's one of the things I see, having a conversation. We don't have the conversation. So if you pass anything on to the next generation and there's no conversation and you die and they inherit it, whatever it is, we have to teach them what to do. from that point. And that's, you know, that's where the village comes in. But for those who don't have a village, how do we help them to know and learn how to create a legacy? And I'll put that question out there.
Yeah, Kim, I think that's a great point. And I think to your point, you have to reach out. Exactly what you said, you have to reach out to others. I mean, I think, you know, even though we have our village and we're very grateful and blessed, each of us also has our own connections with others. And so I think the beauty of it and what we've learned is that we do need to reach out to other people because we're so grateful and blessed for what we have. We know that there's others that maybe don't have, or we belong to other organizations, or whether we're active in our churches or through work or whatever. We know, to your point, Kim, extremely important that there are many of those who don't have. And so it is incumbent upon us that do have, that we reach out to others and that we share our gifts, our treasures, our time, our talents, whatever those things are, because each of us have different gifts. We talked about that one time. We talked about the gifts we have. We talked about knowing the gifts that we know that we don't have. But we had that conversation, but absolutely important that in any ways that we can, that we reach out to help in any way we can. No, that's important as well.
Yeah.
And I never saw the village as a closed village. Like along the way, it evolved. There were different people that, you know, the village started very, with a very small few. I think it was Loretta, Blondell, and Marcy. And then it grew, right? And so in every year, I think it's grown that, you know, one or two of us have brought somebody in along the way. So it's never really been a closed thing. And, you know, no one's village should be, right? Or else you limit the potential of that village.
Right.
So like to Kim's point, it is important to extend in the village and the community that you create, your safe community, your, you know, extended family evolves over time. When our children, you know, have partners, husband, wives, whatever, the village will continue to grow and evolve. So I never look at it as like a fixed thing. I think we continuously branch out and grow. And just even with Marcy being here, now she's part of Good Girlfriends. And, you know, I'm connected to you all. This is another village right here that we've created and we're cultivating, and it will grow. So this is a legacy right here. Hearing everyone speak, you know, I'm blessed because I've really been thinking about being more intentional too, about having these conversations with my daughter, my nieces, my nephews. It's important to talk to them. Like you said, the educational piece is extremely important, and we all have to be intentional. I think, you know, Marcy, you asked the question, like, why haven't we been having these conversations? And I think generations before us, some parents did take the time to sit down with families and, you know, have a discussion, but most of them just modeled behavior and thinking that we would understand, we would get based on the model they set before us, right? So like Cara, you said your mother would always do this special thing for her nieces, and you just assumed it was a nice thing. And maybe it didn't dawn on her to explain to you why she did that type of thing. So we need to be real intentional, I think, about, you know, communicating why we're doing what we do, what it means to do X, Y, and Z. Why pay tithes at church? Why sow into someone that doesn't have, why, you know, all of those things. We need to be very explicit with our children and our nieces and nephews about that type of thing.
Yeah, I like that word, intentional. I think that's
Very intentional.
Important. I know in our family, like I said, since you know, I don't have any children, my sister Karen doesn't have any children. We have been a lot more intentional about certain conversations because we have to understand what's going to happen to the ancestors. Like, you know, it kind of stops with us. What are we going to do with the property and, you know, the land? So I know we have been a little bit, but even with that, I know I still need to be more intentional about the rest of what my legacy will be and how and educate myself on what, you know, what that looks like and how to get there. So, you know, I just think that's really important, intentionality.
Yeah, and I want to go back to what you said, Kim. You asked the question for the parents, what can we do I think it goes right back to what Marcia said, to be able to sit down and have those hard conversations. So the ones that can be sometimes uncomfortable, because it's going to cause you to be a listener now, because you really have to listen. This generation, man, they don't see it no way that we see it, especially with dealing with COVID. Man, this is something we ain't never experienced before. So these kids are looking like, what's a job? Why I need a job? You know, all of this. So you really got to sit down with them and teach them about the importance of legacy, because right now they looking like, I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to keep a job, you know. So, you know, and then, you know, it's so many other things that are being opening up. We never had social media like they have it. It's so much that we got to have those conversations about what they learn on social media. So it's really digging up not only the good generational legacies, but also digging up some generational stuff that's holding us back too, you know. So you know, we could go back on the other side. I didn't have no conversations with my parents. It was, you do what I say and that's it. You know, I ain't got to explain nothing to you. I ain't got to answer your questions, you know. So now that part of the legacy, we got to, us as this parents, we got to be like, that didn't work. So how do we unlearn that to relearn something else, to teach this generation, to really sit down and be a listener to them and hear, you know, where they are, in order to give them the stuff that's going to help build, instead of keeping us locked up into all of the stuff that wasn't, you know, good for us. So again, I think it just goes back to being able to have those vulnerable transformational conversations. Hey, what you thinking? Hey, what does legacy look like to you? Hey, what's important to you? What, you know, what is it that, you know, and even I know I'm dealing with some growing pains, hearing stuff that I may have done that hurt them. You know what I mean? And that's real as a parent, because when you hear your son or your daughter say, you hurt me when you did that, Ma, are you gonna get ego wise and say, oh, I don't know what you talk about, I ain't do nothing to hurt you? Or are you gonna listen? Are you really gonna listen, so that y'all can change together and grow together and keep that legacy going, so when they have children, they can too sit down with them and hear these things and try not to do the same things that we did that made mistakes too. So yeah, I think it's just being loving enough, open enough, transparent enough to have those difficult conversations with your children, and saying, you know what, we all can do better. We all can learn from each other. Is no, you know, nothing that I can't learn from this generation coming up, that, you know, that I'm unteachable. I don't want to leave that legacy either, that I'm so stuck in my ways that I can't be taught from somebody else, you know. So that's important to me too.
Like Kim said, we have to when people and back to a real quick point for you, Kim. The village that Marcy, Bernita, and Janetta referenced is a specific village. They raised their children together. There were a group of mothers who came together and helped, and or families that raised their children together in the private. They were African American children in private schools in Philadelphia area, and they literally did everything, pretty much everything together throughout their children's lives. And now the children are adults and have extended this village to having their own relationships, and the families are still very close too. So they were speaking of a specific village, though what they are talking about can be expanded to any village, as Jeanette kind of transferred it over to, or, you know, her discussion. But back to what you said, if people are not privy to a village or don't have the support, we do have to go out of our way to help educate them, because that just helps us all in the long run as well. So I appreciate that point that you made, that, you know, we need to be more intentional there too about offering ourselves up as resources to some who may not have a village, may not have the, you know, education or the knowledge of what to do as far as creating or keeping their legacy.
I think the village is important. But I think with the legacy piece, and I don't know how to really say this without just being direct, but I think within our community, African-American community specifically, and I'm just thinking of an example, like for instance, Christmas time, for those who celebrate Christmas. And, we give gifts, we buy a lot of material things, and that's expected. But I know other cultures that they don't do that. When someone gets married, they get money to buy a house, they get stock, they get things that are valuable, that will be valuable, and not necessarily material items. So even if there's someone that's not a part of a specific village, I guess I'm focusing more on the community aspect of more or less teaching legacy from a different perspective than what we have done in the past. I was blessed to know my great-grandmother who died at 100 years old. So I have that history, I have that knowledge, and it stays with me. It's with me every day. I won't be able to pass that on to my children because I don't have any children. But what I learned, a lot of what I learned from her, I still try to incorporate that in everything that I do. And whether it's within my family, whether it's outside of my family. And I think that's really when I think of legacy, I'm thinking more of what we're teaching the next generation, whether it's our children, our nieces, nephews, anyone that we come into contact with. What are we teaching them so that they can continue in the future and build on that, whether they have a village or not? And that's something that I think we all, whatever our gifts, I know someone mentioned gifts, whatever our gifts are, individually, collectively, whatever they are, that's the legacy. And that's what we need to teach. That's what we need to impart on everyone that we meet, whatever encounter we may have. Again, because if you leave money, if you leave property, but we don't teach them what to do with it, then it evaporates. You can blow money very quickly, but if you know how to invest it, then you can pass that on for generations and generations. And that's something that I really hope that we can focus more on that aspect of legacy. That's the way I define legacy.
Kim, I was blessed to have my great-grandmother, also one of 4 when I was still alive. She didn't pass away until 1986 at the age of 86. So I had her for a good long time, and I would sit and talk, and she was of a mixed heritage and everything. And my grandmother, I did the same thing with all my grandparents. Somehow it didn't get to my parents. Like, my parents didn't talk to me about things. They just said, do this, do this, do this. And yes, Bernita, I didn't like that. So I intentionally, Jeanette, made sure that I told my daughter certain things, gave her the reason why you do it, so that she can make choices to know, okay, maybe I might not want to go this route the next time, it might do this. And at 24, she's got multiple properties, she's got businesses, she's, got a lot that she can pass on too. I just have one biological, I have a few as my blended, but every person that becomes a friend to me, their children become my nieces and nephews. Grown and young, they all call me Aunt Q this, Aunt Q that, Aunt Q, Aunt Q. I mean, the oldest one is CC's 35. The youngest one is 12. So yeah, they definitely. And I just wanted to say this one other thing that reminded me as we're talking about legacy. I don't remember who said it, but I've kept this, it was a long time in my head. Our tombstones, or headstones rather, if you believe in putting one down, will say the year you were born and when you died. What does your dash say? I know what my dash say. My dash will say, Juanita tried to do everything she could for anybody. And that's the kind of legacy I know striving to work for? What does your dash say?
I like your dash, Juanita. That's awesome.
I
I'm
can't
with
take
you,
full
Quan-
credit. I just don't remember where I heard it. But it was
Yeah,
a
I heard that. I
long
heard
time
that too.
ago.
Similar
I
to
heard that
that
too before,
before.
Quinita, too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I heard
I've
that before too.
yeah.
My
Yeah,
dash
I
ain't
think-
gonna be like yours. I did too everything for everybody and probably, but she didn't take care of herself. I gotta learn how to take care of me.
And I think
And
what's
not-
important about that is we know when we were born, we don't know when we're gonna die.
Right.
And so, every day we have to be working on that dash.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Expiration date is.
Absolutely.
That's true.
And we
Absolutely.
can't, to your point, Kim, you can't wait because you think, you gotta educate who you can now, because you're right, you don't know how long you have on this earth. So as much as you can share and give in the now is better. For me, I think about, some of the people that I'm trying to help and encourage along the way and their ages. And so, will they receive it, at a young age, the way that I want them to? I think dropping nuggets and talking to them constantly about things is a good way to start, but sometimes people don't get it until they get it. So that's something that you have to be conscious of too. I think always planting seeds, but then, working with them to really understand what some of those things mean, like you were talking about. And, just because you have this property, how are you going to maintain it? How are you going to do this in the future? Very young children won't get it, but I think that as long as you keep planting the seeds and then continuing to educate them, that it'll sink in eventually. Because some of the things that I've learned over time, I don't know if I can't necessarily remember like being sat down and said, okay, this is what you're going to need to do. But some of it was I saw things that were happening, and I saw what my parents did. I saw what my dad did, and so I knew the importance of certain things like owning property and having property, and knowing that they're not making anymore. It's valuable, but I didn't learn that until later. It's education. It's the person that you're trying to teach, them being receptive, but always dropping seeds and knowledge. And I think people will understand it, if that makes sense over time.
It makes sense. And I think if leading by example as well.
Yeah.
I know I heard someone say a while ago that a lot of times with parents, you're so busy working, doing what you have to do, and trying to take care of the household and all of that. But sometimes you have to include your children in some of that. Sit them down, lay all the bills out that have to be paid for the month, let them see the bills, teach them how to write a check, so let them pay the bills. And I actually did that one time with one of my nephews. So that part of it is probably just as important as the conversations, is just, including them in those decisions and letting them see how things are done.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, they'll catch on when they want to, Allison. My nephew pretty much helped raise him as well. He lived with me for a few years. And I'm telling you, literally like a couple of weeks ago, he started saying something. He's like, Aunt Nita, yeah, I remember you used to tell me and Kiana this, that, and the third. And he's like, I get it now. I'm like, I'm glad. You need to get more of it though.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember giving my niece a book years ago. And I just figured, she never said anything about it. I would ask her, did you read that book? I don't know, I didn't read it. And maybe a couple of years ago, she said, I remember that book you gave me. I'm like, oh, you did, but did you read it? But you know, like I said, it's all in time, and you know, it just didn't resonate then. That's not what she was concerned about. But now she's there, or getting there.
But did she read it?
Probably not.
So are we leaving the legacy of grace as well? You got to think about that too, you know,
Oh,
that
yeah.
you know what I mean? Our generations were patient with us as best they know how, you know, so we got to be patient with this next generation as well. Cause like you said, Allison, we can sow the seeds all day long, but if they ain't ready,
Right.
they ain't ready, you know what I mean? So you really, that's why I said that the legacy of listening too, because that might be, you know, we can sow the seeds. Hey, how about this? Or hey, and they can actually be honest and say, that ain't for me. What you
Right.
gonna do with that? You know what I mean? Let's sit down and have that dialogue. Why aren't you ready for that? Well, tell me what you need, you know? So that I think is also the legacy. And I think it just goes right back to the beginning of how Cara started it. Her legacy is to leave love. That's it. I'm with you. I want to leave love because when I leave love, I know that I've done everything the best way that I know how, because I cared enough to hear you, to give you grace in your process, and not let my process be your process, not let my walk be your walk, but to leave the legacy that you got something in you that you can leave to the next generation. Not my stuff. Yeah, you might have a part of me, but not me. You. Then when that goes right back into love who you are, being able to be vulnerable in who you are, being able to know what your gifts are, being able to know, you know, what it is to leave a legacy that's yours, not mine. You know what I mean? Yeah, part of it, but not just mine. Just being able to, you know, again, love covers a multitude of sins, as they say. So yeah, I want to leave grace. I want to leave that I was a great listener, that I didn't push my stuff onto somebody else, but at the same time, I did sow those seeds, and I was patient enough to be that farmer to wait to see their harvest. And you know that I want to leave all of those things, definitely. And I think it all comes down to, you know, everything that we said, you know, teaching somebody, reaching out past our core community. It all explains love to me. It all boils down to love, you know, extending yourself to somebody else that's gonna need to be nurtured. Or and I always think of the saying that they used to always say, each one, reach one, teach one. If you got one person, then that's a legacy right there. That's it. You know, that one act of kindness can go a long way. That's a legacy too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Hearing you guys talk about sowing seeds, and, you know, maybe your children or the folks you're sowing seeds into, friends, loved ones, what have you, not being ready to receive it. It made me think about, you know, I think I've said this before, like there are different levels of development in different stages of your life. And you are sometimes in places to receive things and other times not. And so one of the legacies, though, I've learned to appreciate as I've gotten older, and as my only child has gotten older, and working with children in the field of education, is the prayer. Like, you know, my, you know, grandparents, I come from a praying family, not religious, but praying. And so that taught me a lot. Maybe I wasn't, as a younger adult or a younger person, didn't fully understand and appreciate what I was seeing and what I was being taught. But as a grown-up, especially when you release your children, your family, your extended family into the world, and you don't have control, because we really don't. All you can do is stand on faith and prayer. And that was a legacy. I think that's a very important legacy for us to leave our whomever, right? A legacy of faith and prayer. and whatever belief system you have. I mean, you may not believe in Christ, you may have a different belief system, but just to know that there is something greater than you, that you stand on, that you commune with. I think that's important. A spiritual, legacy is important to leave as well.
Amen.
Amen to that. I think that's back to that whole
Amen to that.
holistic thing. Like you need the whole package. You need that faith and prayer. You need to educate. You need to drop the pearls of wisdom. You need to teach them about finance. You need to teach them how to invest. You need to teach them how to get to Kim's point, get the property. But now you want them to keep the property. Pay the taxes, fix the roof. But you got to tell them why this happens and the process for doing it. And absolutely, I think all that has to happen, all that part of the process. And at the end of the day, as Jeanette said, I was having a conversation with my dad today about my son. And, I said, all right, at some point, I just got to, I got to leave this here. I got to stand on faith. And then, I have to let him go. My child is 24 and, so I'm trying to, as Renita said, trying to listen more. And even if I say something, well, let me tell you why I said it. Let me at least have you hear my thinking. It may not be yours, but let me at least just tell you where my head is, as opposed to, Renee said, just, do this or turn it that way or put this, whatever, or make this move. Let me tell you what I'm thinking. At the end of the day, you have to make that decision. But at least if we can have some dialogue about it, I can hear what you're thinking about. Jeanette talked before about, her and, her daughter and, taking some walks, just having those conversations and you start to listen differently. And I think when we also sometimes listen differently, then they'll begin to open up and speak as well. And so I'm still learning that.
That's what I was gonna agree with you, Marcy, because I'm in the same boat. I have a son, he's about to turn 26, the exact same, you mirror what I go through. And so I'm learning to listen differently now, and I think like what Jeanette talked about, like sometimes you have to let it go. Sometimes we have to release our kids into the world and hope that all of these, these nuggets, these moments in time, that they take it with them and that they cultivate it and they carry it on also, even when we know we're right. Even when we know we're right. So I'm glad you said that, because I don't feel alone now, because I'm like, I must be the only parent that goes through this. So thank you for sharing.
That's some more conversation offline another time. Yeah. We can have, that whole, but absolutely. My son just turned 24. And so, sometimes my husband used to say, you just giving them too much at one time. And, because I feel like, I gotta, to Kim's point, I gotta educate him. I gotta pour it in. I gotta give him this and get him, this summer, I had a financial planner meet with us, Zoom. She came on with a great, in fact, this is one of the young ladies, we're going to try to get on. I think, we met with financial planner. We talked about his planning and about him saving and getting a retirement account. And he actually was engaged. I sat there and tried to be quiet and let him, listen and talk and ask questions. But she did a great job, and it was just the three of us, so just trying to, drop the knowledge, and you feel like there's so much. And I think also because we also know what the world offers, good, bad, and indifferent, so we feel like we want to give you as much as we possibly can. The bumps in the road are going to come, and we want them to begin to think about a legacy. What's the legacy that we're leaving, and have them understand, what is that like? What does that mean? What does that look like? So, yes, Lisa, I got you. I should say you got me. Your son's 26, he's older, so we can have some conversation.
I don't know where this falls into the legacy discussion, but what are your thoughts on making sure that you write your wishes either in some formal document like a will or whatever? I feel like I don't hear enough of those discussions in the African American community either, that we share all this information while we're living, and then someone passes and then there's no formal transfer, no written knowledge of what the wishes were of that person. I know I don't have a will at this point, so I know I'm guilty of it myself and need to do better. But I think that's another part of legacy as well. Making
It
sure
is.
document
All right.
your wishes.
Y'all know I can help
I,
you out.
I was gonna
right?
say, Q, don't stop fussing at all of us.
But just, and this is just you know, a personal experience. You know, I had a really good friend who needed to get some information, and in the midst of helping her locate some information, my grandfather passed over 10 years ago.
Mhm.
And in the midst of helping her research and find some information, I actually found out that my grandfather left my mom a lot of money. And just going through the process to retrieve it, and just going through, like, the money just doesn't sit in a bank account. Like, people profit off of this. And we were just lucky that we met the timeline, you know, to not make the process as difficult as it was. But those kinds of things, like, you just don't know. You know, my mom is 80 plus years old. And so she's very guarded. And, you know, she had been contacted, but she thought it was a scam. And so those kinds of things, like, you don't prepare for, because we thought we had settled everything when my grandfather passed. Come to find out we didn't. But part of that was, you know, after we thought about it, that's just the kind of man he was. You know how they say, don't put all of your eggs in one basket. That's what he did. He didn't put all of his eggs in one basket. And so when we thought everything was settled, it wasn't. And so, but, you know, my mom didn't know, and she didn't know how to navigate the process. I didn't know how to navigate the process, but I learned very quickly. And so, you know, I just felt like, you know, I never want to be in that type of situation again, because I think it was Allison, you know, who said, like, or Kim, who said, we don't know, you know, when we are, you know, when we're going to leave this earth. And we want to make sure that when it does happen, that we don't leave people in those types of situations too.
Right.
So, you know, that was a learning experience for me.
I agree. At least I would say, you know, secrets, I always say family secrets are overrated, because you can have different baskets, but tell people where the baskets are, what's in the basket. So I like the basket approach. I like different baskets. I like Allison got some stock, so we're going to buy this stock here and that stock here. We're excited about the stock, but tell somebody that you got the stock or where the stock are, you know. So that's, I think, what happens too over time. A lot of times is, you know, Black folks, we didn't share information. And we didn't tell, you know, people, like, why did they do this? Or they took out this policy, why? And it didn't make sense. And so the folks are gone, and you can't have a conversation about. So I think sharing the information that's back to that education.
Yeah.
Conversation.
Hard conversation.
You know, really, and to me, it really is all about the love. You know?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's like, listen, you just need to share the information. I keep saying secrets are overrated with the family when it comes to that, because when you're left with the living, and you got to figure it out. Yep. And if we haven't laid it out, and so I have to just, you know, admit right here, you know, live on air, that all my stuff is not laid out. So shame on me. I need to work that out. You know, because you know, it's tough. I appreciate that my husband, who passed 5 years ago, handled his business, handled it well. And then we had one policy, we're going, so what's this? What? And you just don't get to ask the question after the fact. You know, you don't get to ask. So, you know, in between the dash Q, work needs to be done. We have work to do. You're like, so here's what we're leaving as a legacy, but that legacy has to be worked, you know, so we have work to do. So important that we put in the work. so that whatever the legacy that we want to leave for whomever, the family, the larger village, that, other folks, other people, whatever that is, the work has to be done to make sure that we do that. So I need to practice what I preach, so I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, I think we all need to do that, Marcy. I know, Q says she can help with that, but I think the first step is actually having that difficult conversation. That's not an easy conversation to talk about death. That's not an easy conversation. So, being able to trust each other, to know that, hey, we may have to have this conversation, and I know it's going to be uncomfortable, so being able to have that bravery to sit down and I can't even tell you the plan if I can't even share our difficult spots. I can't, because I don't even know the process. Like Marcy said, I don't know what that looks like. I don't, but to be able to break the ice. And I think that's, the little things, breaking the ice, being, and I think that's that grace and patience that I'm talking about, putting that work in every day. But, because I can't throw everything at you. Like, all right, I gotta talk to you about this will. I gotta talk to you about, this, I gotta talk to you about that. But, being able to open up that communication for that trust again. I think that I go back to that word trust. Our community just does not know how to trust. I don't care if it's your daughter and you, I don't care. Some things they like, I don't know if I could talk to you about that. That's why, like Lisa said, that's why, my son could come to you, Cara, and talk to you about stuff. So, having grace with yourself and saying, don't, I can't shy away that just because my daughter can't talk to me about something, am I gonna get defensive? You know what I mean? Like, why can't you talk to me? You know what I mean? I gotta really listen. I gotta really have a heart to really listen past my hurt, past my stuff, past my ego, and really open up and say, hey, this is a difficult conversation right here, but I love you enough to have this conversation, and I love you enough to say, this is what I want to leave. This is what my will is. Like you said, no secrets. I can't have no secrets with you. I just can't, because I love you enough to want to leave you with something better than a secret. I want to leave you with freedom. There's no freedom in secrets. It's not. It's bondage. It's a whole bunch of bondage. And like you said, then you come up and try and you learn about, oh, I didn't know about that. Oh my God, I got it. And it becomes another generational, as they say, curse instead of a generational legacy. So, I definitely, want to leave being able to have them tough conversations. Okay, you can trust me that I will not rise up in my ego, in my authoritative position, and not be able to, go back to me and say, you know what, let me sit on that for a bit and learn something from that too, so that I can help you leave a better legacy than what I've done. So that's a part of the growth to me. I'm growing with them. I'm not big enough. I'm not old enough to not learn and grow. I'm still learning and growing. And like you said, Marcy, I got to check myself. But let me check myself. Let me check me, and try to learn what it really means with all of this, with what love is. Love is, woo, man, maybe we might have to have that topic too.
Love is patient. Tough. Love is kind.
Yeah. Love is patient. I told you that. God said, stop right there. Boop. You can't go no further than love. You can't do none of that stuff unless you dig into that patient part. Being patient with yourself, patient with your people around you, patient when people don't agree with you. Woo, good God. Yeah, that's all right. I can preach too, Marcy. So I'm gonna stop.
all of these topics roll right into each other each week.
They do.
They're all interconnected. So, but for tonight, this was awesome. We tapped into a little bit on legacy. We could go on and on and on about legacy, but I think, at least for me, some of the things that I gained from this discussion is the intentionality of discussions around legacy, even intentionality of thinking about your own legacy and what that looks like on a personal level, and reaching out you know, past your family was another point that I heard this evening that resonated with me. Reaching out to people that may not have a village, reaching out to your village. I mean, there were so many wonderful points tonight that I'm taking away personally, but I just think that we just touched on legacy, just one piece of legacy tonight. But hopefully this discussion will at least start the conversation in families and start the thinking of it with more intentionality amongst people. And yeah, we could go on and on. We might have to have a part two, but at this point, we like to highlight an African American female owned business. And tonight we're highlighting Kimberly Orange, who is the owner of KLR Real Estate. And I personally would like Kim to share the story of how she, you know, even started this business. I don't even know if I know this story. So
You don't.
I don't think so. I was there. I don't know how I don't know the story, but I don't know the story. So I'm excited just to hear the story. So
Yeah,
share with us your story, please.
it's actually kind of a funny story, I think. Uh, Basically, I started the business while I was in graduate school, and I was taking a class, entrepreneurship class. I have an MBA in marketing, and I had to take an entrepreneurship class, and one of the assignments was to write a business plan. So a few years prior to me starting school, graduate school, I purchased a property, my first home. I was so excited to buy this house, my very first house. I was so excited to buy the house that I didn't realize when I purchased my first home that attached to the house was vacant land that I actually purchased as well. So I thought I just owned the house. I didn't realize that I owned the land next to my house. So that's another story. But basically, I had an assignment for entrepreneurship class to write a business plan. I didn't know what to write about. And so I sat and I thought about it. I said, okay, well, if I were to start a business, what would it be? And I thought about what excited me the most. And I had my real estate license at the time. I was working for another company part-time in real estate. I had a full-time job and I'm in graduate school. I write the business plan basically for a real estate development company. Having an engineering background and having a real estate license, I figured, I could combine those two and I can do real estate development. So that's how I started the business. It was a development company. Later evolved into a real estate brokerage and property management as well. And so I started the company, and just to kind of tie in the legacy piece, when I wrote the business plan, I was also in the process, I was engaged. I was about maybe a couple months or a year from getting married. And one of the things I was having anxiety about was having to change my name. Didn't want to change my name. So I thought, well, when I start this company, one of the ways I can honor my maiden name is by naming the company after basically the initials of my maiden name. So that's where the KLR comes from. That's how I started the company. I've been in business for, next month will be 23 years. Really enjoy what I do. I love real estate, and I can talk about that forever. And that's one of the reasons why I focus on that when we talk about legacy is the property ownership. But it's been, there've been ups and downs, but it's been a great business. And that the company is a part of my legacy. I've been able to impact so many people, so many families, and my own family. Karen, I've had some conversations. I'm not going to get too deep into those tonight, but the one thing, I don't know who will inherit my business. I'll say that. But I do know that I'm teaching my nephews in particular, because two of them actually work with me. And I have cousins and other folks that are involved in my company that I know there'll be a legacy passed on to them in some form or fashion. So I'm excited that I had the opportunity to join in with you all tonight, and hopefully, I know I learned a lot, and hopefully I was able to impart something as well. And thank you.
Thank you for being my real estate agent too. Woo, woo, woo.
Yes,
Here too.
and Lisa. Yeah, both of y'all were some of my earlier clients
Yeah.
in the beginning.
So your real estate company does real estate, property management, and development, or what does KLR Real Estate, what services do you provide now?
KLR Real Estate is residential real estate company. We specialize in real estate sales. I do property management for homeowner and condo associations as well. And the development piece pretty much stopped a couple years ago when we had the real estate bubble and everything just kind of came to a halt. But I am actually in the process of working on some development plans now. So you will see and hear a lot more about that soon. But the primary focus of my company is real estate sales.
And your agents can service people all over the country, or what? How's that work?
Licensed for the state of Maryland, so we can sell any property throughout the state of Maryland.
Okay.
And pretty much restricted, yes,
Gotcha.
just to Maryland.
Awesome.
Yep.
And how do they reach you? What's your contact
The
info?
easiest way to reach me is through online. You can reach me through social media, KLR Real Estate. You can find us everywhere, or the website, klrrealestate.com, and that's 2 R's, klrrealestate.com. And my phone number is 410-653-2500. So you reach me by phone, email, or online.
Gotcha. Awesome.
She's a great resource too. She knows her stuff, really.
Yeah, she's
I agree.
Great resource.
my go-to person. I'm always contacting Kim with
Yeah.
real estate questions and
Really.
concerns.
And I don't mind anyone reaching out to me.
Right.
Any questions?
KLRrealestate.com, is that the website?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for being here tonight, Kim.
Thank
And
you.
Allison, thank you for coming back. Lisa, we're so happy you're back. We missed a couple of our girlfriends tonight, but they're always in our prayers. And we just are very thankful to be here another Thursday. We hope this has been a blessing to someone out there. I'm always blessed. We hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next week with another topic that we will let you know in a few days. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great weekend. Kim and Lisa and Allison, once we turn the live off, if you'd like to join us on our after show, please stay on the line. All right, everyone have a wonderful evening.
Bye.
See you next week.